What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of the Connect Global podcast built on relationships. It's your boy Apply Pressure AP here, and
You're with Demencio.
y'all see what's going on. So listen, this is the first episode of the Connect Global podcast. We're going to touch on the power of relationships, the power of networking. We recently did the dopest event of the year at Post 270 Restaurant, powered by Fave Social and Fave Realty. It was called the Connect Business and Influence Mixer. And we're going to recap that and just go into details on why building relationships in business and being an entrepreneur is important. So, you and I, we were introduced through mutual friends, or mutual people, I should say, family. What I notice in just relationships, period, when you have somebody in your life that kind of knows what you're into and your mindset and your way of thinking, they tend to come across other individuals. And when you guys are in the same room, they're like, oh, you know what? I think I need to introduce you to this guy. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much how me and Demencio met, through family who was just like, hey, you got to meet Demencio. You guys are similar in age, and I would love for you guys to connect. And from there, this is like a relationship going on maybe at least 10 years. And that led us to this point right here, which is, again, built off relationships. So when it comes to this networking event that we did, again, it was called the Connect Business and Influence Mixer. It was powered by Fave Social. We did it at this wonderful, brand new Black-owned restaurant in Westbury called Post 270. And how it came about, one day, Demencio just hit me up like, bro, you want to go out to eat? I'm like, yeah, why not? He's like, yeah, it's my man's restaurant. It should be dope. I'm like, all right, whatever. So he brings me to this restaurant. It's, familiar area, Post Avenue in Westbury, familiar with the area. We get there, the place is nice. We actually, I think I had a hoodie on or something like that. They're like, no hoodies, no hats. You know what I mean? So Demencio had to go talk to the owner, like, let us in just this one time, whatever the case may be. So we're there, we're enjoying ourselves, we're eating the food is delicious. And as I'm sitting there, I just whispered to Demencio, like, I think I want to do a networking event here. And he just looked at me like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, sounds good, you know what I mean?
For sure.
And, at that point, that's when you introduced me to Lionel, who's the owner of Post 270. And I said the same thing to him as well. I'm like, I would consider doing a networking event here.
Right.
And again, he didn't really know me from a hole in the wall. I was just introduced to him. He's like, whatever, what I mean? Sounds great, From there, I actually took the team out. So this is, we probably went there, I want to say maybe December of last year, maybe November. And by January now, I took the team out. We took a few of our top producing agents out to eat, and we actually took them to Post 270. And that was one of my ways to kind of like, let me test the waters. Let me see, the feedback. Let me see what everybody says about the food, the ambiance, and everybody enjoyed it, So I'm like, all right, we might got something here.
Right.
Might got something here. Fast forward a little bit more, I'm talking to my partner Reese, who's the broker owner of Fave Realty, and I'm like, this is a spot. Think it would be dope to do an event. I'm like, matter of fact, let's go grab something to eat. So me, him, his lady, we go out to eat. Same thing. Good night. He enjoyed the food. She enjoyed the food. We had all the dessert. Everything was wonderful. The ambiance was great. So from there, that's when I'm like, all right, I think we got something. So I circled back to Demencio. I'm like, listen, man, I'm about to put it together.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna come up with a couple dates, let's shoot some ideas as far as what the theme could be. And, fast forward, we end up with 300 plus RSVPs. And, we shoot some promo video for this event, and
It goes crazy.
it goes crazy. It goes crazy. So with that being said, what were some of the highlights, I guess, that you saw that night, or some of your takeaways from that night? I know the room was the best thing about this networking event was that the room was so diverse. We had so many different professionals, so many different entrepreneurs, business owners, bankers, attorneys, real estate people, people that aren't even in real estate were there. You know what I mean? So the room was impactful. The room was diverse. So, I mean, what were some the takeaways or some things that stood out to you from that night?
Well, like you said, man, doing this event at Post 270 came kind of organically through relationships.
Absolutely.
And there was a bunch of takeaways. To start, you know, number one, there was tons of diversity, not only in careers, but in ethnicities, right? And so to bring everyone together to kind of, you know, to kind of connect the dots and just everyone being on the same page in the same space, so to speak, it was intentional. I have so many takeaways, but to start, I would say one takeaway is just don't ever underestimate your relationships.
Absolutely.
You know, when you meet people, you know, some people judge a book by its cover, you know, but you don't really know what that person is involved in.
Absolutely.
So that's one of my takeaways is just not to judge a book by its cover. Yeah. You don't know who's who.
Never know who's who.
You don't know who's who.
Never know where that conversation can lead.
Never know where the conversation can lead to. So that I was very appreciative of number one, just being involved in the whole situation.
Absolutely.
To say the least. But then to have a room filled with like-minded individuals, all in the space of connecting, you know, all in the space of people that want to grow, not just there to network and for social purposes, but more so to really follow up with the people that they have met at our event.
Absolutely. No, I agree 1000%. I mean, like you said, the room was powerful. I mean, we started off with the open bar from the first hour. The event started at 5:30. I was there, I want to say, from like 4:30 or 4:45, and there were people already there for the event.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I'm surprised. I'm thinking, you know, I walked inside, I saw some people sitting at the bar, things of that nature. I'm like, okay, you know, maybe they're just here, you know, a regular Thursday evening.
Right.
But they're like, no, we're here for the event.
Yeah, we're here for the event.
Oh, okay, you know, you're a little early.
Right, for sure.
You know, and usually when you do these open bar things, of course, people take advantage of it, but most people come late.
For sure.
But, you know, at this event, I mean, it was packed from before the event even started.
And that's intentional as well, because anybody that gets to an event early, they want to be in that room.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's what's important. That's another takeaway. Like they want to be there. They want to connect with, you know, with other individuals. So that's dope.
I agree, man. And I mean, you know, the ambiance, I mean, the venue, I think the venue played a big part in the success and even in people coming, you know, from a lot of the promo videos. I've gone to other networking events. We've done other networking events at different places. What I notice is that, you know, ambiance is a key factor because that kind of sets the tone.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
People aren't going to show up to your event if they think that it's, you know, they're not going to show up dressed the right way or you know, prepared the right way if they think it's some like low level venue.
Right.
You know, where in this case, you know, with the promo video, they saw, you know, how nice the spot was. Everything was new. Everything was sexy.
Right.
Everybody showed up looking their best.
Yeah. I mean, ambiance sets the tone. I mean, when you go into a place or a nice establishment or an office space and it's, you know, lit up and it's nice and you feel like, you know, valued, that goes a long way. Now it kind of opens up the door for those conversations as well. So we were strategic with, you know, with the setting. We were strategic with that restaurant.
From the rollout to, you know, even the promo music. You know, I made sure to make sure it's jazz. You know, things of that nature. Because again, you don't want to confuse the people.
Absolutely.
Know? And we want to attract the right people.
Absolutely.
You know, and we want everybody to come.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But we just want everybody to have the same mindset.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
You know, that's what it's all about.
For sure.
I know I talked to some of my friends and, you know, some people in business and they're like, you know, well, I got to go to a networking event. You know, I network, you know, on a daily basis. You know, I do this. I meet with this individual. I go out to lunch or whatever the case may be. So what would you say is different between structured networking and just your casual networking?
Well, structured networking is really setting the tone to who's in the room, right? Opposed to just going out and randomly meeting people. When it's structured, you know, I feel like you kind of know what individuals are going to be in the room. Like you said, we had bankers, we had agents, we had business owners, we had people that were. I met a gentleman who came to me after I spoke, and he was involved in a cologne, a startup cologne company, fragrance. So you know, that's kind of structured because you know, knowing that I got a fragrance and I want to potentially connect with other individuals that can potentially help me, you know, scale this or put this product or learn something that can help my product,
Absolutely.
that's structured. You know, that's
Absolutely.
not a
Absolutely.
coincidence. That's not like, oh, I think this person is involved in this and that and the third because maybe they look nice or maybe they're in it. No, this was structured because we made sure we invited all like-minded individuals.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and individuals that's in the space currently, you know, doing the work.
Agreed. And I mean, as a real estate professional, I know a lot of it, even some of my agents are like, you know, why go there? It's just going to be agents and loan offices and, you know, like what's the point? And what I've learned over the years from networking is that a lot of times you don't get an immediate, you know, benefit from meeting somebody
Right.
or from being introduced to somebody. But what happens is that familiar faces in an industry that is somewhat small can benefit you.
Correct.
Because what happens now is that, you know, I've been at networking events for the past, you know, 8-9 years now. And what happens is that, you know, you meet these people at these events and then you end up running into them in business. You know, you end up putting an offer in on maybe their property, or they end up putting an offer in on one of your properties.
For sure.
Or they might, you know, decide to maybe switch from where they are and come work with you and things of that nature. So a lot of times it's about having those familiar contacts and those familiar faces so that as you're doing business, it makes things a little easier. Most people will much rather do a deal with somebody that they know already as opposed to a complete stranger.
For sure.
You know, and
For sure.
at these events, like I said, even though you might meet, you exchange cards, you might not make money right away, but you will be surprised if you're somebody that's active in whatever industry it is, you will run back into that person. And that meeting at that event will definitely benefit you.
Right.
You
I mean, and what's important at these events are not just meeting, you know, people. It's the follow up.
It's the follow-up.
You know,
The money's in the follow-up,
the
guys.
money's in the follow up. It's about, you know, kind of nurturing those relationships, even if it's just a text. Hey, listen, I met you. Nice to connect with you, or whatever the case is. But just following up, you know, for the future. You know,
Absolutely.
for the future, staying in
Absolutely.
touch with people that's essentially, you know, in the same space.
Yeah, I mean, it's that saying, right? If you're around, you know, 9 losers, right, you're going to be the 10th loser, right? So, you know, proximity is truly power.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
You know, so, you know, when you're around certain people that think the way that you want to think or the same way that you think, it's just going to benefit you. You know,
Right.
because sitting in the house and, you know, saying you're going to do this, saying you're going to do that, but not actually rubbing shoulders with the people that are doing it, you know, could it happen? Yeah, but it might take a little longer.
Yeah,
you
yeah. I
know?
mean, and having the ideas and having the wants to kind of do business, so to speak, you have to do the other part, which is connect.
Absolutely.
You know, you're gonna need someone somewhere along the lines that can help you get to where you need to be. So
Relationships.
yeah, so that's another part of the battle.
1000%. And, you know, just to kind of double down on relationships, I mean, you know, in my business, right, I tell all of the agents here, you have to be of value to your client, to your customer, right? So in order to be of value, you need to build a relationship. People work with who they trust, right? So a lot of people think that in this business, you just got to follow up and ask for the business and this and that. But truly, you need to build that relationship.
Right.
You need to, hey, how you doing? You know, last time we spoke, you mentioned that your daughter was getting married. How was it?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's what separates you now from the 1,000 other agents or whatever other business that you guys might do that are calling this client. You know, it's like, oh man, that guy actually remembered that my daughter got married.
Right.
And he's not even asking me if I'm ready to
For sure.
buy or sell yet.
For sure. For
He's just
sure.
asking me how am I doing?
Yeah.
So now when they have a question about what it is that they want to do,
Right.
who are they going to reach out to?
Right.
They're going
Right.
to reach out to the person that they built the relationship with.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
so relationships are powerful. You know, I know most of us are taught, you know, just to go to school, get a degree and work and go home. Right.
Right.
And, you know, it does work for some people, but, you know, what I've noticed that most successful people and a lot of people that are, you know, at these higher levels, they're relationship based.
For sure. Relationships and teams. I mean, big corporations, I mean, there's teams, there's, you know, it's not one person kind of doing all of the work, which I think a lot of people within our culture are associated with trying to micromanage, trying to do everything. I mean, I know a lot of people that I that come for me for consultations, and they basically are doing everything, when I don't believe in that. I believe in leadership. I believe in teaching others to lead. I believe in, like you said, valuing the relationships that you kind of make, you build, right? So no, definitely you have to you got to get out there and do the work as well,
Yeah, man. I mean, entrepreneurship isn't easy. I mean, a lot of people, I see it every day. People get into, my realm of business, and I'm sure other industries, and they just want instant gratification. And they don't understand that it's so many different ways to build that business. They think, they see people have success and they think, oh, I just got to do that and I get the money. It's like, no, I do that, 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 I do
100%.
that, and I do that.
100%,
You know what I mean?
100%.
And I don't really wait. I don't wait for the results.
100%.
Where a lot of people get caught up in, a week passed, a month passed, this passed, I didn't get paid, and that's that 9 to 5 mindset. That's that almost that hamster in the wheel mindset where you got to get out of that. You have to understand that if you want to be a true entrepreneur, you have to plant seeds. You have to nurture those seeds, and in a sense, those are relationships.
Right, 100%.
You got to nurture those relationships. And once you understand that and crack the code on that, it makes business a little easier. Because it's natural.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, even if you're working in for someone or working in that sort of space, you still want to build those relationships within whatever you're working, whatever space you're working, just to get where you want to be. If you're not looking to scale, if you're not, you can stay complacent. But
out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. But that's not what the Connect is about.
That's not what it's about.
That's not what we're about. So, we're speaking and we're kind of passing on the word, and we're doing these events to kind of put people in the same room together that can make something and give people opportunities.
Because a lot of people's excuses is, I don't know people like that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not. I've never heard that before.
I mean, and this event was completely free too.
Completely free.
It was free, so it doesn't cost you anything to come out and just listen or find out who's who in the room. And
so let me ask you then. So a lot of people would say, when I'm at these events, what do I do? Like, how do I network? Like, what is do I just walk up to people and say, hey, my name is such and such?
That's a great question. I'm sorry.
No,
but that's a great question. And you know why? Because some people are shy like that.
Yeah.
But the beauty in that question is that what you do is you put your pride aside. You understand? You're in that room. You went to that event to connect. You got to put your pride aside.
Absolutely.
And you gotta speak up. And you need to nurture those. You need to kind of introduce yourself, or just figure out who's who. Everyone that was in that room, and any room that we put people together, there's no status quo. If you're in that room, people are going to talk to you.
Absolutely.
So if you have a question,
because you're there for a reason.
Yeah, you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And that goes back to what I said earlier. You don't judge a book by its cover. You don't know who is who. 100%. So when you're at something we put together, you don't have to worry about being fearful of or being shy to introduce yourself or to say what you're into, or you're not good enough. No, you come and present yourself as someone that wants to grow.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
To add to that, the key thing you want to do, especially if you're somebody that you don't really know what position you play, right? Or like what role you want to play, is you want to figure out a way to bring value. So if you're at one of these events and you meet somebody like me, right? You know that I'm a real estate broker, we invest, we have agents, we build businesses. You want to figure out a way to bring value. You want to say, hey, look, I could go find you, a couple of agents that just got their license, and, I could introduce to you, and possibly you could have them join your team. Or, I know a couple of people that might be in jeopardy of losing their property, short sale foreclosure, death in the family, need to do a quick sale, and they want a cash buyer. You need to understand what it is that person that you're talking to is looking for and see if you could bring that to them.
Right. I mean, and that's you might be in a whole completely different field of work,
Absolutely.
right? But having these connections, right? I've made plenty of money based on in spaces that I'm not even in. Like for instance, I have a small real estate portfolio, but I don't sell real estate, and I've made tons of money just kind of referring and connecting the dots. You know, so if you don't know agents, you might know someone that is looking for an apartment.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can get it. You can make money by hey, I got somebody that's looking for a 2-bedroom to rent. You know, you might get a commission just off of that. You can negotiate that commission based off of that. In any space, in the car industry, you know, you might know someone that wants to buy a car, right? But you're at this event, and you met the finance manager from Mercedes, or you met the finance manager from Porsche. So when your buddy tells you, yo, look, I'm looking for a Porsche, you know, oh, I met so-and-so at Post 270 or at the Connect.
He's the GM
event.
over
He's
at
the
Porsche.
GM over at, I'll get you done. And then for that sort of relationship, you get a cutback. It might be something small,
and
but
sometimes you might not make money. You know what I mean? Like that's
the
another
first
thing.
time around.
Yeah, you know,
the
like
first time around.
that. You know, you want to be resourceful. I've had situations where I've called, you know, a client about selling their property. They don't want to sell. I'm like, all right, well, listen, anything you need, landscaper, handyman, power washer, solar panel. Oh, I need a new landscaper.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna make any money off of that, but just me bringing that value to that person that when they need something else, who they gonna call?
Yeah, for sure. So it's not all money based.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not all money
based, right?
Of
to
course,
say the
that's
least.
the ultimate goal, but you know, you have to bring value.
Yeah, for sure.
bring
It's
value.
not
1000%.
the ultimate goal, but like I said, you come to the event, and you know, a lot of people are hard up on money. You know,
Absolutely. No, it's tough out
so
here, man.
it's nothing wrong either. I mean, it may
Oil
not
prices
be
just went up.
right. Exactly. It may not be money out the gate, out the door, building that relationship. But down the line, you might get thrown a bone that will come out of nowhere. Just from those relationships. So you can monetize.
In the right places.
You
Right
can monetize, but it doesn't have to be like, yo, I'm only connecting this because I want to get a whatever. So that's not what I meant.
Our cameraman, you know what I mean? We met through networking. You know, he knew business. He came through, he brought value. He showed his work to us first.
Sure.
He didn't come here saying this, that,
Right.
He understood.
Sure.
And now this is like his 5th, 6th job with us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what relationships do, guys.
Right.
And
Right.
a lot of us, especially, coming from, where some of us come from and our old mindsets and how we think is what's in it for me, or what can he do for me?
Yeah.
Or, what I'm gonna make.
That's
you know
instant,
what I mean?
that's
And
instant gratification.
Yeah,
right?
and it's
right?
like,
right.
true success doesn't really come from that.
Right.
That's the small money. That's the minute money.
For sure.
That's thinking too small.
For sure.
But nah, great stuff, man. I mean, so to sum it up, I mean, the Connect isn't just an event. Faith Socials aren't just events. It's an ecosystem of like-minded individuals. And our goal with doing these events pretty consistent is to just continue to build a community of like-minded individuals and give people a space to, like Demencio said, come interact freely with no ego. We don't care if, you're a brand new entrepreneur, or you might be have a full-time job and considering becoming an entrepreneur, or you're a seasoned entrepreneur. So yeah, man, the event was crazy. So, I mean, after that experience, right? I know, of course you've been in networking events before, but this is kind of your first time behind the scenes. Did it meet your expectations? Did it, go over your expectations?
Yeah.
Did it under, what I mean?
Right,
what
right,
you think?
right. No, this event definitely met my expectations. I can speak for a few people I know that was in the room. They felt like their expectations were met as well.
Mm-hmm.
I connected with some dope people that I stayed in contact with, and in fact, we text every other day or so.
Dope.
So it met my expectations for sure. When I came in the room, I kind of was looking, number one, to just let the room know what I'm into, and then it kind of, people just gravitated. I mean, the room was full of people just shaking and moving. Everybody kind of was just, no one was quiet,
And that's the good thing about structured networking is that, of course you could go to a bar, you could go to a club, but you can't really just approach any and everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if you approach a female in the club, she probably think you trying to holler at her.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You approach a random guy.
Yeah, for sure,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? It's like, who are you?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but when you're at these networking events,
Yeah.
every and anybody is approaching one another.
Right.
And everybody has the same goal in mind.
Right,
So
right.
there's no, misconstrued
Yeah.
intentions.
Yeah, because sometimes with networking events, sometimes you get people that just come there for the drink. Some people come there for the music, looking for who they could, whatever. But this particular event was good. It was definitely dope. As I said, I connected with a few different individuals that's in the space that I'm in. So it met my expectations, and
sure.
I'm super excited to continue to be a part of something that you kind of started, and like
1000%.
we just kind of
You my bro, you know what I mean?
based on. I got a broad network of people. You have a
Absolutely.
broad network of people.
Bring the two worlds together.
and we brought two worlds together. And so no, I'm good.
1000%, man. So, I mean, listen, before we go any further, I just want to shout out Fave Realty again. Shout out my boy Reese. Again, this is something that I kind of brought to his attention as well, and he was completely with it. Anything we needed. Again, we're here at the Fave Realty Baldwin location. For those of you that don't know, we got 6 locations here in New York. We focus on residential sales, commercial, investing. We buy homes cash. So if anybody's losing their property for the unfortunate, short sale, foreclosure, death in the family, divorce, anything to that nature, we could close within 2 weeks and help you out. All right. Also agents that might be looking to find a home where, you need some training, some mentorship, some guidance, make sure to reach out to us. This is what we do 24/7. Shout out my partner, Jerome Jones. He manages this location with me as well. Also want to shout out Post 270 again, my guy Lionel. Anything that we asked for, he pretty much made sure.
He was accommodating.
He accommodated.
Sure. Go check his restaurant
Check out
out.
the restaurant.
It's in Westbury,
That's
Long Island.
272 Post Avenue, Westbury, Long Island, Nassau County, right off the northern state or Meadowbrook. So it's like the location is dope. That's another thing about that location that I think helped the event be what it was.
Right.
Because a lot of times, our last couple of networking events were Long Island City. We also sponsor an event once a month in Brooklyn. Shout out my brother Curtis, the New York real estate entrepreneur
Kurt, what's
mixer. That one is in Brooklyn. So a lot of times we invite our network out, but it's a little tough. We're from Long Island, so you go to Brooklyn, you go to Long Island City, there's no parking. Long Island people.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn.
Look, Long Island people, we a little bougie. You know what I mean? If there's no parking, they ain't showing up. You know what I mean? Valet something. So so when we, announced this event in Westbury, because we used to do an event in Rockville Center, which used to be crazy. But when we announced this one in Westbury, I think it was so impactful and so crazy because it's like right in the middle. From Brooklyn, it might take you 40 minutes, you know what I mean? From Suffolk County, it might take you 30, 40
from
minutes.
The city, the Long Island Railroad is right there.
You know what I mean?
It was
LIRR. We had tons of parking. It's Long Island, so it's tons of parking. So that definitely played a part in why the
This guy's gonna brag about Long Island like Long Island is the
man,
best. Like,
if you think about moving to Long Island, hit me up.
No,
But now
yeah,
let's get into
real fast.
Yeah.
So that leads me to, man, like what's up with the next event, man?
Next event. So next we're gonna do this event. So I'm thinking once a quarter for now. Maybe eventually, we could turn it up even more, but I'm thinking once a quarter. So we did one in the first quarter, that was February. I'm thinking the next one we do in May, which is about March, April, May, like less than 2 months from now.
Right.
And then we just keep doing them once a quarter.
Right. And if anybody, sorry to cut you, but if anybody out there sees this and they got something going on interesting, reach out prior to.
Absolutely.
And maybe you can come and host and speak about what you got going on.
out a way
Or
to
you
make
could
it
just
make
come and be in the
sense.
room,
Yeah.
but definitely reach out prior to.
Absolutely, absolutely. With that being said, I also want to shout out some of our hosts from that night. We had New American Funding there, which is one of our preferred lenders. My guy, Dean Lupowitz, who does tons of deals a month. He's probably one of the top loan officers in Long Island. He was there. He spoke. He said a few words. Shout out to Dean. Shout out
to Dean. I didn't know him prior to. I connected with Dean there.
And coincidentally, what's crazy, you probably don't even remember. So relationship-wise, Demencio a while ago referred me a client, right? I believe it's his family or a friend of the family. Introduced me to him. The gentleman is a officer. And at the time, I introduced him to my brother Dean, to get pre-approved. This is months ago. The brother, he's new to buying. So, some people get a little cold feet, I guess, when it comes to starting the process. But long story short, he had a whole conversation with Dean. You know, he was in the process of getting pre-approved. Fast forward now, we're at the networking event. Dean is like, what's his name is here?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, who's
yeah,
that?
yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
oh, one of the buyers that you should. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. That's actually Dementio who connected me with this client.
Right.
You know, and the gentleman is there and he's like, yo, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, buying now.
Yeah,
You know, I
he's
feel
ready,
much
yeah.
more
He's
comfortable.
ready, yep.
You know, and it just goes back to the power of relationships.
For sure.
So, you know, shout out to him. Shout out to Dean. Who else spoke? We had Scott Einbinder, who's a real estate coach. Who else? We had Christian Porterson.
Scott had a lot of energy.
Scott had energy.
Yeah.
One of the problems that we had that night, which we're gonna correct. So again, this is a podcast where we gonna keep it 1,000 with y'all
For sure.
and you know we're gonna be transparent with y'all. The event was excellent. It was packed. But one thing I think we did wrong. Two things I think we did wrong. I think next time we should speak at the balcony area where we were sitting.
Well, if the event is there.
That's if the event is there.
the event is there.
If the event is at that location,
right,
I think we should
right.
speak at that part of the restaurant.
If it's somewhere else,
If it's somewhere
it
else,
should
then
be
we'll figure that
center.
out.
It should be center
Exactly.
to everything. So
everything.
I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead, go into what the problem
And then the
was.
second thing, the main thing I think is that we started speaking a little too late because you know once everybody got them free drinks in their system,
Started meeting people they didn't
meeting
know.
people, and you know just the excitement in the room. By the time we got to talk, it was kind of hard to get the whole room's attention.
Right.
And you know I didn't take it as disrespect because I know everybody was there and they were trying their best to you know listen and be involved, but it's hard when it's a packed room. It was
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah, it was a
it was
lot of people.
vibes.
It was vi- yeah,
it was
it was
big
a lot of
vibes.
people, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think to correct that, we'll start talking a little earlier, just so people are a little bit more settled down.
Right.
And again, you know, we don't want to make it a talking fest. You know, it's more so just to introduce our hosts and let you guys know who we are. We also raffled off one of these one-of-a-kind hoodies that you guys see us
sure.
wearing, the Connect, built on relationships on the back. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
We raffled
And,
off.
and even these sweatshirts, real fast,
ahead,
right?
go ahead.
Speaking about relationships, and this is not planned. We're just
All
building,
facts.
right?
Yeah.
Even these sweatshirts. So I was introduced through a cousin of mine who works in product and design for years. He's in the tech space. He met a gentleman. He built a relationship with a dude named Tony. Tony had multiple businesses. He freaking murdered Amazon.
Wow.
I mean, with sales, he's done astronomical
Monster.
numbers. Monster, yes. Tony's from the West Coast. So
Shout out to the West.
right, I was looking to do some merch for a few of my brands that I had at the time. And I was building, and I wanted a little bit more visibility. And I was introduced to Tony because Tony had transitioned out of Amazon to printing, doing print work. So he moved from California and moved his whole team out to Houston, and they opened up a big.
Love Houston.
Yeah, they opened up a big manufacturing plant and down there doing a bunch of printing and stuff.
Fire.
So when I was looking to do my merch, so I met Tone, and he did my merch at the time for the brand
Fire.
I was working on, and I kept that relationship. This is 3-4 years ago, and now he's doing all type. Now he has so much more machinery, and so when it came around time to do this event, I'm like, hey, listen, we need to do some merch, and then I reverted back to Tone relationships, and and he got these to us in like a week.
I was gonna say
in a week
within
time.
a week they were here at the front
Great
door.
quality.
Great quality.
We have a few that'll be listed on the site
1000%.
for sale.
You're
And
getting all of that
and if you
together.
have something like this, then it's kind of like you're in, like, it's kind of identity. You know what I mean? Like if you wearing
Not
a
many
Connect-
people got this.
Yeah,
so
not
like
many people
it's
have
exclusive.
it, and they won't.
One
And
of
they
a
won't.
kind, and this is this ain't no cheap stuff. This fly
Right,
stuff.
right.
If you want to try, if you would like to get one now, you could definitely DM one of us. Until we get the site up. Our Instagrams, which my brother put on the screen, but it's AP Real Estate NY at AP Real Estate NY, and
Right. Mine is ghost_of_Mencio.
all right.
Mencio. But like I was saying real fast, so identity, right? So if you're buying one of these hoodies, number one, you're supporting, right? But number two, if you're wearing one of these, essentially, if you see someone else with it, then they're trying to connect
Salute.
too. I mean, it speaks for itself. Built on
speaks for
relationships, then
itself,
it's just
1000%.
it's a conversation piece, conversation starter.
And we're all the connect. Anybody that connects dots, that brings one party to another party, or a lot of people come to me in the beginning stages of buying a home and they have no idea on how to get to that goal. And it's like, I'm literally connecting them to every person that they need to know to get them to that goal, whether it's the loan officer, the credit fixer, the real estate attorney, the inspector. You know, as a professional, your SOI, which is sphere of influence, should be large. You know, you should have a person for everything in your contacts. You know, so
That's
if somebody
100% true.
if somebody wants construction, I'm gonna call somebody. If somebody wants an alarm system, I'm gonna call somebody. If somebody wants produce, you know, to be wholesale to their
gonna call
grocery
somebody.
store, I'm gonna
Yeah.
call somebody. You
Yeah,
know, I'm not
yeah,
gonna point
yeah.
no fingers, but I'm gonna call somebody. All right, we're gonna
Yeah,
get into
yeah,
that, some of our
yeah.
other businesses too. But yeah, you know, being resourceful, you know, somebody needs a cameraman, I could call somebody.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you know, and that's the importance of understanding what building relationships are and, you know, being built off of
And that
relationships.
goes
Go ahead.
and that goes to a famous saying, right? A slogan. Your network is your net worth.
1000%.
You know, and it's moments like that when you have a bunch of different contacts in your phone that make you valuable. You know what I mean? In whatever space you're in, whether you're a business owner or you work at a company, you're valuable. So yeah, that's what's
100%,
up for
man.
sure.
So what advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's maybe never attended an event like this?
I would say step out your comfort zone and try it, because I'm not big on, and I wasn't big on networking events, but you got to step out your comfort zone.
1000%.
You know, I'm never stuck in one mindset or stuck into one state of being. I'm always trying to grow. You know, in terms of wisdom, you got to constantly learn and get information. So part of me stepping out of my comfort zone or advice is like, go to these events, go. I'm in that space. I need to start, you know, because for years I've done a lot of different businesses. I've ran a lot of businesses and didn't do any networking events. And I've seen the difference from going to the events and not going. I can see, you know, I've converted, you know, sales with whatever I'm doing. You know,
I can't even begin to start talking about how much like different business and money I've made off of network.
Right,
And it
right.
didn't happen right away. You know what I mean? It's literally, you know, you meet this person at this point in time, and then fast forward, that person is introducing you to that person, and then fast forward, you meet this person from that person. That, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then you make
100%.
money. And it's like it all
100%.
started from here though.
100%.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's great, man. But not to your point though, as an entrepreneur, I definitely recommend you going to any type of networking event. I remember I used to tell my friends, like, I'm going to mixers. They'd laugh like, what the heck is a
Right,
mixer?
right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Like, I never really knew what a mixer was. You know what I mean? But when you're
How long has that trend, like the mixer? Because
I mean, since I got into real estate,
It's been a
I've
while?
been licensed like 9 years, and I went to my first networking event. It was me and my brother Jerome. We were brand new in real estate. Loan officer I met at the barbershop. It's funny, I was just at the barber yesterday talking to my man Black, and you know, we were talking about networking and how he introduced me to this loan officer at his shop.
Okay.
That took me to my first networking event.
wow. That was 9 years ago.
And this is 9
And
years
it was
ago.
like a mixer. Yeah,
It was
see,
a
so
mixer.
it's been
And what's
around.
crazy is that at that networking event, you know, I'm gonna shout out a couple people. I met Crystal Young, who's, you know, one of the first real estate attorneys I've ever done business with. I met her at that networking event, done tons of deals with her since then. And she's the one that actually introduced me to Curtis, who does the events in Brooklyn. And you know, now we do events every month with Curtis.
And that's the beauty about
You know,
it,
so
man.
it's crazy.
And I'm sorry I'm jumping
you're
in, but
good.
I'm getting a little excited because
Yeah.
when we talk about these events and we talking about relationships, it's not to like I'm not hyping it up.
Nah, it's
right?
no
I'm not hyping it
exaggeration.
up, but it's the truth because if you're buying a home, most of the time you deal with the agent and then you go to your closing and then you see an attorney, but you don't really have a relationship or you don't even, a lot of people coming to buy a house don't have a real estate attorney. But to go and be invited to a room where you're meeting
them.
the mortgage broker that's there, the person that
That's a
actually,
good point.
Yeah, you know what I mean? The
That's a
person
good
that
point. So now when it's time for you to buy, you got a Rolodex, you got the whole team.
you got your own attorney.
And you have
now.
options.
You got options. You got two attorneys that you know that you met at one of the events. You
That's a
have
great point.
the person funding your mortgage that you met, that you have a relationship with, that it's not just surface. You know, you kind of, you know, you followed up. So you know them. They know you on a first name basis and vice versa. So you meet all of the players at the event. So I think it's definitely key to kind of come out to something I mean, and this goes for any space you're in. Like, it doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't have to
No,
be
it
business.
doesn't. This is
Whatever you're in, you kind of want to
1000%.
mingle in that space. You definitely want to do that.
I agree 1000%, man. Somebody asked me the other day, like, what's the point of doing an event like that? Like, what do you get out of it? And it's like, nothing really, up front, right away. But to me, I get to put like-minded individuals in a room, right? I get to maybe push my brand as far as, Apply Pressure AP, Fave Realty, The Connect, right? And we get to build a ecosystem of like-minded individuals. And what I've noticed in business is that you don't need hundreds of thousands of people supporting you. You really just need a tight network of people.
Quality, not quantity.
Quality, not quantity. So
It just so happened we was blessed with 250 people. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. But it's definitely quality over quantity.
1000%.
You know what I mean?
1000%. And like I said to you guys earlier, you'll be surprised if you do these type of events. Industries are small. There's 1,000 real estate agents. There's 1,000 entrepreneurs. There's 1,000, suppliers, wholesalers, whatever the case may be. But there's not many that are actually doing business, right? So if you're somebody that does business, you're going to run into these people and they're going to say, aren't you the guy that threw that event? Oh, I think I went to an event and I saw you there. Or a friend of mine, posted a picture or a video from your event.
Right.
And that's going to help you to get that deal closed a bit more easier than if you didn't do anything.
Right. I mean, and then of course, you're coming in the door, it's the trust factor, it's a sense of trust, because if all of these people are connecting with you and you're able to do these events, then you have to be honest and to a certain level. So that trust factor is big as well.
You're right, man. And it's just like a big mastermind group. I'm sure, if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, that's one of my favorite books ever, changed my life. But, one of the main things he speaks about is a mastermind group. And, of course, most mastermind groups would be like a small round table. But at the same time, why not have a big mastermind group of people that think the way that you think? And that will bring you opportunities. You bring them opportunities. It's one hand wash another, and they both wash the face.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And again, a lot of times it's not about the money right away. That's the main thing I learned getting into entrepreneurship, is that, broke people, poor people work for money. Rich people that I've met and I study, they create opportunities. They just focus on putting the work in. They focus on building the habits. They focus on meeting the right people. And then the money just happens to come.
The money's gonna come. The money's gonna always follow.
That's the difference.
The money's gonna always follow.
The difference. It's funny. I was just watching a clip of Nipsey Hussle's brother, Black Sam.
Right.
And he was saying how he would tell Nipsey all the time, like, yo, bro, let's go get this money, man. Da, da, da. And Nipsey was like, bro, like, the money gonna come.
Yeah.
He like, we just gotta keep building on this marathon thing. And you know what I mean? Like, and then Black Sam was like, I finally see what he meant now.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he's like, then I'm like, bro, like, what are you talking? We spending all this money, we not making
making anything. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%,
and that's why even for us, like, these hoodies, we're not trying to get rich off hoodies. We're not trying to, get into the clothing line business. It's more so just to plant these seeds and build a community of people that think the same way and want to wear the same fly stuff and represent the same thing. Right. And if it happens to make $1 or $2, cool. You know what I mean? But if not, it's bigger than that. Right. It's bigger than that. This is gonna, start multiple different streams of situations, whether income is involved or not, even if it's just relationships. Relationships is income.
Right, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So,
for sure.
We could go on and on.
Yeah.
But nah, before we wrap it up though, I do want to just kind of get into exactly what we do and how they could find us, and maybe some things that we plan on doing in the future. And you know what I'm saying? So Demencio, I know, like you said, you're a serial entrepreneur. I know personally that you've done, production as far as film,
trucking,
a lot of behind the scenes stuff in the industry, trucking. I mean, I like to say, Demencio is one of those people where if there's money to be made, he's gonna position himself to capitalize in a good way. We're talking about all legitimate businesses. For
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I love people like that. People that just understand, in order to make money, you got to solve people's problems. And that's kind of like what you do. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
100%, 100%.
You got to solve people problems. Somebody want a
100%.
dog, you get a
Right,
dog.
right,
Somebody
right,
want this,
right,
you
right.
get that. You know, they need you know, wholesale price on this.
Yeah.
You can find the wholesaler.
sure.
You know, so just dive into kind
Sure.
of what you do.
So
and
so
how people
briefly,
can
I mean,
find you.
there's several. You can find me on Instagram, as I said, Ghost _of_ Mencio.
What does that mean? You want what's
Well, that name kind of came from my father. You know, my documentary was based on my father.
Yeah, tell 'em how to find the
telling his
documentary.
story. You can find that on Vimeo, the Demencio Montana story.
and who just a quick little introduction. Who was your father?
So my father was an influential figure in Brooklyn that, of course, was part of the whole 80s, 90s drug epidemic, kind of like, you know, so
New York City.
New York City saga. He was very well known.
Influential figure in the underworld.
In
I
the
guess.
underworld, correct. In the underworld at a time when hip hop wasn't present.
Exactly.
And he was
This is back when the rappers wanted to be like the street guys. But now, you know, they say the
Correct.
street guys want to be like the
correct,
rappers.
correct. Nah, yeah. So yeah, he was very well known
Yeah.
in that
I mean,
space.
I've seen, you know, he was very close to, I think, people like Mike Tyson.
Yeah, Mike Tyson. A lot of the rappers, Run DMC, Eric Sherman, and those guys, they kind of were like not known at the time. They looked up to him.
Yep.
Some of the DJs and stuff like that because they were doing it big in their era. So I took that story, of course, and I wanted to tell it the right way.
And unfortunately, you know, he's not here to tell
Yeah,
his story.
yeah. He's not here. So growing up, there was a lot of being named after him. I was kind of like always like being told all of these stories about my father and in that regard, in the underworld regard. But I knew him as something different.
Absolutely.
And
Totally different guy.
Totally different
Come
guy.
on, Family Guy.
Yeah, Family Guy.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
just I wanted to get the story out there, and I also wanted to let it be a lesson to others who lost their parents, because I lost my dad through the
violence.
streets, through gun violence. So I kind of growing up without him, and that and my life taking, my family's life taking that tragic, taking on that tragic loss.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to give the story out, put the story out there for others that is into that or glorify that.
Exactly,
So I told that story. That was kind of one of my things I've always wanted to do.
And I mean, just to add, I'm sure it also is going to deter the youth as well. Because I mean, back then it was the 80s. Crack, all that stuff was new. You know, a lot of them didn't really know what the consequences were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where now we've seen how the story goes.
And
right?
that's why telling the story was part of something that I wanted to do, and I said I was going to do. I'm an executioner as well, meaning execution, not in that regard, not in the underworld regard, but in a sense where I start something, I finish it. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. So
that's one of my words for the year, execution.
yeah, execution. I used that word last year. This year, my word is motion. This year,
Fire.
My word for 2026. Every year is something.
You gotta switch it up.
So
Nah,
this year is motion.
All right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
But last year was execution. I dropped the documentary in 2020.
How can they find that documentary?
You can find that on Vimeo, Vimeo.com / the Demencio Montana story.
Fire.
Once I wrapped that up, that was wrapped up, I moved on to other things, of course. But to go back to your question, how I got the name, so it was kind of like me being a junior. You know, it was kind of like the ghost of him in a different light. You know, like kind of doing it.
The
On
right
the other
way.
side, on the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
way,
yeah,
you know, because and them times they didn't know. So
didn't know.
I did that. I kind of gave myself that satisfaction.
And just so you guys know, like, all these rappers, all these movies, like, everything is pretty much based off of that era. You know, like, everybody's trying to duplicate that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The Demencio Montanas, you had the Rich Porters, you know what I mean? You have in DC, you had what's my man name in DC? Wayne Perry.
Rayful Edmonds or
Rayful
something.
Edmonds, that's who I
Rayful
meant, not
Edmonds,
Wayne
right.
Perry, Rayful Edmonds. But yeah, my point though is that, you know, the reason why that story is an important story and the reason why it's a popular story, and if you were to just Google that name and say, you could Google and say rappers reference to Demencio, it's gonna be tons of bars of rappers that have used him in songs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So great story, you know, definitely an influential person in the culture. And you know, like you said, if you guys want to check it out, find it on Vimeo.
Yep.
I believe you also have it on your link in your
Yeah,
bio
show my link in my
on
bio.
Instagram.
Show my link in my bio.
So now fast forward, I know you did the production. You of course, you have real estate investments and stuff like that. What are you into these days?
So right now, I'm growing a large scale distribution network for soursop. Soursop is a fruit source that I source from Grenada, and I bring it over here weekly on a large scale, and I sell to business. I started a D2C, which is a direct to consumer delivery business with it. So now you can go on a website and you can say, hey, I live in Queens and I need 3 pounds. You can't make it out to the supermarket, or your mom can't make it out to the supermarket because she's ill or whatever. You just can't make it.
What are some of the benefits of soursop?
Oh man, it's great. It's a healing agent for cancer. You know, it has tons of antioxidants. Plus, it's just like really like a revival fruit. I mean, it lifts you up in a powerful way. The leaves, of course, as you know, you can make tea. So I get a weekly shipment in that's on a large scale directly from Grenada. And as I said, I supply them to stores, and I've started the private delivery service with it. So now you can, like I said, you can just order it and you can get your soursop directly to your door. We also offer shipping. So if you're out of state, a lot of states, believe it or not, don't have access to soursop.
Wow.
You know,
So
they
you're bringing
can't.
it
So
to
so I ship out to Arkansas.
Nice.
I ship out to Chicago. You know, so I'm just really fascinated with growing that business because I got out of the mindset of just doing business for money. So it's more so purpose with me.
Absolutely.
So I like the fact that I can
Why? You like the why.
I like the fact that this is something that's always health has always been an interest to me. I've always worked out. I've always kind of ate clean. I've, you know, boxed, you know, so to be able to provide that, I've my side of the family, I have family from Grenada. I was able to source it and get it over here. And like I said, I just grew a large network, and it's really fascinating pretty quickly too, because I just started. Well, we've been doing it. My family, right? He's been doing it for about 20 years. I have a family member that's been doing it for about 20 years, but not really on a large scale in the New York market. So I took that and said, I'm going to, I took the formula, connected with him
on it.
and added stuff. You know, I added all of the, of course, I've incorporated tech into it. So now I have bots, kind of like when you go inquire, I got bots that's going to respond to you like that through WhatsApp, and just adding the tech side to it.
Absolutely.
And I've seen a large increase in sales. Awareness. So, you know, I'm loving it. So that's right now, that's what I'm growing. I mean, of course I have other things brewing, but right now that's my main focus. I'm not taking on too much at a time anymore.
And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people, you know, come into my office and they're like, you know, I'm going to be a real estate agent. I want to be a trader. I want to be this. I want to be that. And it's like, man,
right.
You got to master something.
Yeah,
bro.
you got to master something. You got to buckle down. And that, well, I was like that as well. I had
and most ambitious people are like that, because they're like you're so antsy. You want to.
Yeah, you just want to make moves.
You
want to make moves. I've had my error with that, bro. I used to, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I realized it was just confusion. You know, so I buckled down and I started
It's you know. You could be busy, but you're not productive.
You're not productive. You're counterproductive.
You're counterproductive.
Yeah, you're counterproductive.
You know? It's like the hamster in the wheel, in a sense.
For sure. So I now buckle down. Something like this, I'll scale and get going, and then part of business too is also you want to have something that can run. You know, a system that can run and build cash flow without it's scalable, right? But without you necessarily doing the same work you did at phase one.
Absolutely.
Right. So the
name of the game is to work smarter, not harder. I mean, one thing that I learned, you know, from transitioning from a 9-to-5 job to entrepreneurship is, like I said, we all love money. Money is great, but time is
everything. Time is everything.
You know, once I became a full-time entrepreneur, I could take the kids to school. I make them breakfast. If they call right now, say I need this, I could jump up and go do it. You know, working a job, you can't live like that.
Right.
Depending on the job that you work.
Right.
You know, so and you're working hard and you're making money, but it's like, is it really worth it?
Right.
You know, so you know, you want to eventually, you know, try to create something that, like you said, is systematic, where you could work smarter and not harder,
For sure.
and still be beneficial and
sure.
still make money.
For sure.
You
I mean,
know?
and yeah, like, you know, for me, growing that business looks like once it's up and I got it to where I want it to be, which I'm like right there. Now I have that time, so I devoted that
Exactly.
initial.
You could go into something else.
And then now I'm doing something else, and this business is kind of already running on its own. I put other people in position to be leaders. I strongly
it's
believe
about.
in that. I believe in uplifting leaders, like making
Absolutely.
leaders, making other, like I don't
can't do
like that
everything by yourself.
micromanagement
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I kind of like to just, you know, get someone else going and let them kind of do their thing, and you got to trust your
Absolutely.
team. So yeah.
And to piggyback on that, I mean, kind of bring it over to me now. You know, that's one of the things that I love about Fave Realty, and, you know, I appreciate about my guy Reese, right? Is that, you know, I know brokerages that have a broker owner and they just do everything. They're running around, they manage the office, they're this, they're that, and they're, you know, I guess they're making all the money, but they're not putting people in position. They're not giving people opportunity.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And, you know, what I've learned from, you know, Reese is that you can scale and put other people in position, and still it's beneficial for you.
Yeah, you can still
You know, it
make
might
money.
take a little longer, you know, or depending on how the business is, it might go a little quicker too. But at the same time, being able to find leaders, you know, leadership skills in individuals, and putting them in position. So, you know, I came to this company in 2020. You know, I started off at another company first. I started off doing real estate part-time. You know, when I came here is when I actually started to understand the business, like, oh, okay, like I could actually maybe leave my job, you know what I mean? And like, you know, really do this for real, you know, because in our mind, you know, again, coming from where some of us come from, you think of real estate, you think of an agent, you just kind of see one look, you know, especially the first company that I was at. But then when I came here and I'm seeing, you know, all different kind of people have success, I'm like, oh, wow, like you could literally be yourself and, you know, network and market to your people and build a business off of it. You know, so 2020, I get here as a part-time agent. You know, by 2022, I was able to leave my job, you know, and, you know, by, I guess, 2024, my partner Jerome and I, we now run the whole office. You know, so again, Reese was able to see, like, okay, you know, these guys already are moving like they run the office. You know, they're already recruiting, they're already doing business at a high level. Opportunity presents itself. Let's give these guys an opportunity. And, you know, a year or so later, you know, we've rebuilt the team, recruited a ton of agents. We did about 100 deals last year out of this office. And, you know, it just goes back to what you're saying, where you scale. You know, now we have leaders here that we put in position, and that now they're recruiting and they're building their business, and we're showing them the formula.
And then before you know it, you'll be at another office. Someone else will be running this office. You'll be running another country. I mean, you did move kind of fast. Like I remember you before you were here.
I mean, I've been licensed since 2018, so don't think this happened overnight. The new agents out there that want to speed the process.
I mean, you've been moving at a nice speed, man. Getting stuff done, getting real results. I mean, making people happy.
Absolutely. It's just work ethic.
That's dope.
You know, you know, I think, of course, you could be taught, you know, some skills, right? But a lot of this, you know, what we do it's in you. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have that dog. You have to understand that losses can't really phase you. You know, that failure isn't a loss, it's a lesson. You know, it's really just data. You know, it's data. You have to take that loss and say, all right, what could I do differently? What could I do differently to correct this? You know, and then re-strategize. And you know, once you have that in you and you understand how this works, it makes this process a little bit easier.
For sure. I mean, and when you say data and stuff, my mind just kind of went in a little rabbit hole, because speaking about business, a lot of people think that, you know, business is easy. I got this idea, and then they do launch their business, but they're not really collecting that data and doing what's important. And it may be off topic a little bit, but what I've learned in business, and I've when people consult me when they have an idea, when they have a business that they want to grow, and I speak with them about growth, one of the things that I always mention is doing the books, you got to factor in a lot. Don't cut no
Research.
corners.
Yeah.
I've done that. You don't want to cut corners. You want to track everything. You want to track everything because data, in a sense, is conversions. You can turn that into conversions to sales, to whether it be in real estate, whether it be if you're selling that, whatever you're selling, it can convert. And then also you want to have your business structured the right way.
Absolutely.
You want to if you're working and you're going, you got to drive to A to B to C, point A to C. That gas is also a cost in the business. So it's really buckling down. And doing the numbers and paying attention to everything in business. It's not just, oh, I got a business, I'm doing this, I made that. You got to really do your numbers, man. Reinvest back into your business. It's all sorts of things, man.
I mean, I almost feel like if you don't run into any type of struggle, like you're not challenging yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to get to these levels, you have to get uncomfortable a little bit.
Right.
You know, it's not always going to be a smooth ride. I would love for it to be. You know, if it is for you, that's great. I wish everybody the best of luck. But for the most part, anything that's worth having does not come easy.
Right.
And I feel like it's only in entrepreneurship that people expect instant gratification. You know, where to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, or any type of like high paid profession, it takes time before you even make money.
Yeah.
You gotta go to school for 4 years, you gotta go to medical school, law school, you then intern.
It's the bigger picture.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like anything that's worth having, it takes some time. You gotta, sit back, collect data, see what works, see what doesn't work.
Right.
Watch the winners, watch the losers.
Right.
I won't do that, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And put together your own bag.
When you said instant gratification, right? A lot of people. So speaking on that real fast, there's a lot of people when I was coming up in business, that was one of the things. It was like, dang, I need money now. There's people that need money now. So when you tell them like, yo, it doesn't.
That's a great point. Go ahead.
When you tell them it doesn't come easy,
Yeah.
they give up.
Exactly.
Right? And they
Which
give up.
that means it's not for you, to me.
No.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Go ahead.
We got to. See, the thing is, when you're young, because when I was young, I wanted everything fast. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that mindset, right? But what I will say is that when you want something fast like that, it's obtainable. Right, it's obtainable. I'm not gonna shoot no youngins down.
Absolutely,
or like that.
definitely
Say,
obtainable.
You can't get it. You can't.
Definitely
You can. But when you have a passion or a purpose for something that you're working on, it may actually take longer to achieve. So you might have to look at delegating a certain amount of time to your baby, right? Because that's your baby. That's what you really want to do. So you'll delegate more time to that. But in the meanwhile, your source of income could be something else.
Exactly.
You know what I
was
mean?
gonna say
So
that.
even though, and that might not be working in generating income in that same space as your baby, but you're doing something else that.
No, great point. I mean, to touch on that, I remember like in 2018, 2019, when I first got my real estate license, I'm like, yo, I'm about to leave my job.
For sure.
Telling my original mentor, I'm about to leave my job. He's like, nah, you can't leave your job.
Right.
I'm like, what you mean? Like, I could do this. I'm a hustler. Like,
Right.
He's like, nah, like, you got bills to pay. You got a family.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's like, you want to do this on the side, like you said, like, and that's the problem with a lot of people is that you'll work a full-time job, but then you go home and you playing video games, eating, watching TV.
Time management.
So what I used to do, I would work my full-time job, and then after I would go to the office.
Yeah.
For sure. So to your point, and to solve the problem of not feeding for that instant gratification, if you plan on being any type of entrepreneur, you do need a stream of income. You know what I mean? Especially if you're an adult with responsibilities.
For sure.
Because to Demencio's point, it's going to make anything that you're trying to do whack. You know what I mean? It's going to be stressful. You're sitting here showing up every single day and you're not getting paid. Nobody likes that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
but now if you have a stream of income and you could just focus on learning and the work and the habits, you're not stressing for the money from here.
Yeah.
Eventually it will come.
Yeah.
And it might come quick. I'm not discouraging people to say that it's super hard, it's gonna take long. Some people do see success quickly. But at the same time, I'd rather give you guys, high, I rather overestimate the time than tell you could get the money
sure.
in 2
Yeah,
months
for sure.
and it don't happen, because
For
then you're
sure.
gonna be like, oh man, AP, what
Yeah,
happened?
yeah, what happened?
So
Yeah, for sure.
but no, that's a great
Sure,
point.
for
You know,
sure. And you got to break down as a business owner. You got to be realistic, and that's part of your homework as a business owner. You got to
1000%. You
break
gotta know what you're
down.
getting into.
You got to know what you're getting into, and then you can also break down the time it will take for you to start generating money within the business if you do your
X, Y, and Z.
due diligence in breaking down the business and what you're going to do.
And like you said, scheduling, time management,
Time management,
blocking,
time management.
it's very important to just be able to say, from 5 to 6, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to turn my notifications off.
For sure.
I'm only going to do this. And it doesn't have to be, 8 hours a day.
Right.
We have some agents that have full-time jobs. They come in 2 hours. For that 2 hours, they're locked in.
Right.
And then they go home.
Right.
And in that 2 hours, they've generated some business.
Right, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? So quality,
for
quality
sure.
over quantity.
For sure.
So, but nah, dope conversation, man. This
Always.
is episode 1,
Blessing you
the
with the
Connect Global podcast,
built
built
on
on relationships. Y'all see what's going on. Got my brother Demencio here. It's your boy Apply Pressure AP. Again, we want to shout out our sponsors, Fave Realty Inc., The Connect. Y'all see the hoodies.
Shout out to Fave.
Shout out to Fave. Shout out Reese. Shout out Rome. Shout out all the managers, everybody, the whole team. What else? Shout out Post 270 Restaurant again for, allowing us to do the event the other day. Stay tuned for the next one. We will, start dropping announcements and stuff soon. We will have some other merch and stuff like that, coming as well. So just follow the journey, follow the bros.
Follow the motion.
At AP Real Estate NY, at
Ghost of Mencio, at Mimi Moss Juice. That's the name of the Soursop company.
Let's do it, man.
Currently.
Follow at Fave Baldwin Office as well. You can follow our progress. Again, you got the Soursop, you got the real estate guy. Anything you guys need, we're resourceful, man. We got a pretty strong network of people. So hit us up and peace. We out.
Peace.